The global economic order is being tested like never before. Markets are volatile, supply chains are shifting, and the very foundations of international commerce are under pressure from all sides. Just moments ago, former President Donald Trump erupted over Ontario's decision to close itself off to the US, a dramatic escalation in North American trade tensions. His frustration is palpable, as decades of cross-border cooperation suddenly seem fragile. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, Europe is celebrating a $20 billion battery manufacturing boom, fueled by Chinese companies fleeing Trump's trade wars. This surge is transforming local economies and creating thousands of new jobs, while also deepening Europe's industrial ties with Asia. These events, though oceans apart, are deeply connected, signaling a seismic shift in global alliances and strategies. The world's power centers are realigning, and new partnerships are emerging in unexpected places. Ontario's move is a powerful symbol. Even the closest economic partners are now at risk. The trust that once defined North American trade is being tested, and uncertainty is spreading. Trade tensions are no longer abstract. They're forcing nations and corporations to make drastic survival-driven choices. Companies are scrambling to adapt, workers are anxious about their futures, and entire industries are being forced to rethink their strategies. While the US and Canada feud, Chinese industrial giants are pouring billions into the EU, exporting not just goods but entire factories. They're bringing technology, expertise, and capital, reshaping Europe's manufacturing landscape. By building manufacturing hubs in Europe, Chinese firms bypass US tariffs and embed themselves in the continent's economy. This strategy gives them direct access to European markets and influence over future innovation. This is China adapting, turning American protectionism into a strategic advantage that could reshape industrial power for a generation. The ripple effects will be felt far beyond boardrooms and factory floors. The old certainties of global trade are gone, replaced by a more competitive, unpredictable landscape. Every nation is now forced to reconsider its place in the world economy. Trump's outburst is more than political theater. It's a reaction to a world finding new paths to prosperity that don't run through America. The US is no longer the sole architect of global trade, and that reality is unsettling for many. Ontario's closure and Europe's battery boom tell the story of our time. Nations and industries navigating a complex new world where change is the only constant. Adaptation is no longer optional, it's essential for survival. The world is watching, apprehensive and fascinated as the rules of global trade are rewritten. Every headline, every decision is shaping the future of the global economy before our eyes. The US-Canada partnership, once hailed as one of the world's closest alliances, has unraveled in recent months, culminating in a dramatic and highly publicized trade negotiation breakdown that stunned both nations. The spark that ignited this crisis? Canada's new digital services tax, a policy specifically targeting global tech giants, many of which are American powerhouses. The US interpreted this move as a direct attack on its economic interests, prompting then-President Trump to threaten sweeping new tariffs and abruptly halt all ongoing trade talks. What began as a seemingly technical policy dispute quickly spiraled out of control, morphing into a full-blown diplomatic crisis and leaving businesses on both sides of the border in a state of limbo and confusion. This isn't an isolated incident. It's just the latest in a long series of trade disputes that have been quietly straining the relationship for years. Trump's administration has consistently favored tariffs and unilateral action over compromise, sending a clear message to the world. The US is willing to risk even its closest alliances to achieve its trade goals. The timing is striking. Just as the US appeared to be easing tensions with China, Canada suddenly became the new target of American trade aggression. For Canada, whose economy is deeply intertwined with the US, this represents a daunting and risky shift, threatening jobs, exports, and economic stability. The sudden halt in talks has forced Canadian leaders to urgently reconsider their nation's heavy reliance on their powerful southern neighbor, sparking debates about economic diversification. At its core, this standoff reflects a deep philosophical divide. Canada favors rules-based systems and multilateral solutions, while Trump's US prefers bilateral deals and economic pressure as leverage. Until this fundamental gap is bridged, uncertainty will continue to define the relationship, impacting everything from cross-border supply chains to consumer prices in both countries. The fallout is real and immediate. Businesses, workers, and everyday consumers are all feeling the effects, with some already facing layoffs and higher costs. The US-Canada rift serves as a stark warning. Even the strongest partnerships can fracture in today's volatile and unpredictable trade environment. The world is watching closely to see who blinks first, as the outcome could reshape not just North American trade, but global alliances for years to come. US tariffs have hit Canada hard, especially in Ontario's industrial heartland. Ontario's economy, reliant on U.S. trade, particularly autos and metals, was rocked by steep tariffs. A 25% tariff on autos and new duties on steel and aluminum triggered a sharp decline in Canadian exports. The result? A record-breaking trade deficit and widespread economic pain, lost jobs, shuttered factories and disrupted communities. The automotive sector was devastated, with exports to the U.S. plummeting nearly 23%. With 3/4 of Canadian exports bound for the U.S., the damage rippled across the economy. Prime Minister Mark Carney has called for urgent diversification, recognizing the dangers of over-reliance on a volatile partner. Canada is now scrambling to forge new trade agreements and strengthen domestic industries. Ontario's plight is a case study in the real-world costs of protectionism. Tariffs aren't just numbers, they impact lives and livelihoods. The lesson is clear. Economic dependence on a single partner is a critical vulnerability. Canada's path forward demands resilience, diversification, and a new approach to global trade. The stakes for workers and communities couldn't be higher. US-driven trade disputes are sending shockwaves through the global economy, disrupting markets and unsettling investors worldwide. The US is locked in tense negotiations with the EU, India, and others, threatening tariffs as high as 50% if deals aren't reached. These threats have put immense pressure on trading partners, raising the stakes for everyone involved. While some, like the UK, have managed to secure agreements and breathe a sigh of relief, most partners remain on edge, uncertain about what the future holds. This climate of uncertainty makes it nearly impossible for businesses to plan ahead, invest confidently, or make long-term decisions. American industries reliant on imports face soaring costs. Fireworks, toys, even food giants like General Mills are warning of price hikes. Companies are scrambling to find alternatives or absorb losses. These costs are passed to consumers, proving trade wars have direct, painful consequences at home. Everyday families are feeling the pinch at the checkout line. Globally, key partners like the EU and Japan are pushing back, leading to stalemates and stalled negotiations that threaten to drag on. Economists warn that prolonged conflict could stifle growth, fuel inflation, and even trigger recession. The risks are mounting with every passing month. Central banks are on high alert, trying to maintain stability as new tariffs loom and volatility increases in financial markets. The lesson is clear. In an interconnected world, one nation's actions ripple everywhere, affecting supply chains and economies far beyond its borders. The US strategy has replaced cooperation with confrontation, forcing everyone to adapt quickly to a new, more combative global landscape. The result? A more fragmented, unpredictable global economy where volatility is the new normal and stability is harder to find. The world is learning that no country is immune from the fallout, and the consequences of these disputes are being felt in every corner of the globe. As protectionism rises, Chinese companies are rewriting the rules by exporting factories, not just goods. Their new strategy builds manufacturing plants inside key foreign markets, sidestepping tariffs and trade barriers. This isn't just defense, it's a bold plan to secure China's global economic influence for decades. By establishing factories in Europe and North America, Chinese firms become local employers, making it harder for governments to target them. Producing goods locally means made in Germany or made in Mexico, bypassing tariffs aimed at made in China. This approach brings them closer to customers, slashes logistics costs, and strengthens client relationships. China's invest abroad strategy is a long-term bet on the future of globalization. It's a bold, strategic response to a rapidly changing world. The crown jewel of China's invest abroad strategy? CATL's $20 billion battery investment in Europe. CATL's state-of-the-art factory in Arnstadt, Germany, serves automotive giants like Volkswagen and BMW. Building in Germany gives CATL a competitive edge. Faster delivery, lower costs, and tariff-free access across the EU. The plant's success hinges on blending Chinese expertise with a local German workforce, creating a unique cross-cultural operation. For Europe, it's a win jobs, investment, and a critical role in the green transition. For CATL, it's a masterstroke, deepening integration into Europe's auto industry while insulating itself from trade wars. The Arnstadt factory is more than a plant, it's a symbol of a new era in global industry. Other companies are watching and learning. China's invest abroad strategy is bold, but it's not without major challenges. Operating in places like Germany means higher energy, labor, and regulatory costs, squeezing profit margins. Navigating European labor unions and bridging cultural divides requires sophisticated management and patience. For Chinese firms used to top-down control, adapting to local norms can be tough. There are also serious security risks. Beijing fears that advanced technology could leak to Western competitors. Companies must balance deploying modern tech abroad with protecting their intellectual property. Geopolitical tensions add another layer of risk. Foreign investments could face scrutiny or backlash as relations sour. Success now depends on more than manufacturing. It requires diplomacy and risk management. Chinese firms must prove they can be responsible local partners in a world of growing suspicion. The strategy's future hinges on their ability to adapt and build trust. For Arnstadt, the cattail factory has been transformative. Hundreds of jobs and renewed prosperity. Local leaders celebrate the investment, even as national governments grow wary of Chinese influence. This highlights a key dynamic. Local economic needs often outweigh broader geopolitical concerns, but risks remain. Germany's new government is pushing to reduce dependence on China, and US-China tensions loom large. If friction escalates, the KTL plant could become a political pawn. Still, Arnstadt's leaders are optimistic, betting that economic benefits outweigh the risks. The factory positions the region at the forefront of the electric vehicle revolution, but everyone knows the ground beneath them could shift at any moment. The world is rewriting the playbook for global trade, driven by rising tensions and retreat from open markets. Countries like Canada are diversifying partnerships, while China's invest abroad strategy is redefining globalization. Building factories within major markets lets companies bypass tariffs and insulate from shocks. Direct foreign investment is becoming as important as traditional trade. The future will be a hybrid of negotiation, diversification, and targeted investment. Trade barriers are forcing innovation. Stakeholders must find more robust ways to do business. The winners will be those who anticipate change, manage risk, and embrace new models. In this uncertain era, adaptability is the world's most valuable currency.